something that in a lot of places is called attack therapy, where one individual may be surrounded and other participants in the rehab and at Senecor, even staff were encouraged to participate in this, would surround that person and basically tear them down.
We'll hear more about some of these practices after the break. That's Laura Starcheski, reporter and producer for American Rehab. Also with us, Tim Rowe, who went to Senecor last year. Tim, thank you so much for your time today. We're discussing Reveal's new podcast, American Rehab, from the Center for Investigative Reporting and PRX. You can share your story on our Facebook page, tweet us at 1A, or via email at 1A@WAMU.org. I'm Jen White. We'll hear more from you and our guests in a moment.
You're listening to 1A on WHYY, your NPR member station.
Next time in Pulse, the doctor wants you to drop some pounds.
Usually, and it was better.
But how this issue is discussed is really important.
I felt insulted, I felt embarrassed, I felt ashamed.
When conversations about weight do more harm than good.
Unfortunately, most doctors don't know how to treat obesity.
The Pulse, tomorrow morning at 9 on WHYY.
As the nation calls for racial justice, public media is having a reckoning of its own. Journalists and staff are speaking out about overwhelmingly white newsrooms of public media stations and failed promises to cultivate the talent of people of color. Living up to the ideals of public media. That's next time on The Takeaway from WNYC and PRX.
Weekdays at noon on WHYY.
Supporting WHYY, Bark Park, doggy daycare, grooming, a members-only dog park, and more. Bark Park, your dog's happy place, in South Philly and West Philly. More information at barkparkphilly.com.
The local forecast, sunshine and clouds mix, hot, humid with a high near 93. Tonight, partly cloudy skies give way to cloudy skies and rain overnight with a low near 70. 81 degrees in Philadelphia at 11:40. This is WHYY.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from Noom, a personalized weight loss program designed to give people knowledge to set new goals and the tools to stick to them for good. Learn more at Noom, NOOM.com. From the estate of Joan B. Kroc, whose bequest serves as an enduring investment in the future of public radio, and NPR be the model for high-quality journalism in the 21st century. And from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation at rwjf.org.
We're talking about Reveal's new podcast, American Rehab, from the Center for Investigative Reporting and PRX. It explores the use of so-called work therapy within rehab centers across the United States. I'm joined by Laura Starcheski, reporter and producer for American Rehab. I want to bring another voice into the conversation. Shoshana Walter is the lead reporter for American Rehab. Shoshana, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Jen.
So just before the break, we were talking about something called The Game, which is this aggressive approach to group therapy, and there's a description of the game in the podcast, American Rehab. Let's listen.
It starts with a group of people sitting in a circle.
Now the group singles out one person at a time, attacks that person, and shatters his defenses. And then the game switches to the next person, and so on and so, with no professional direction.
Everything I say, you will not do. Really? Like a little baby. I want.
Laura, explain a little bit more about what we are hearing there.
Sure. This so-called therapy, The Game, was a foundational aspect of a treatment program called Synanon that was founded in the late 1950s and was one of the first places that people with opioid addiction could supposedly get treatment and try to curb or stop their use. And the way the game works is just what you hear. It is a confrontational group therapy designed to tear someone down so that the program could build them back up. And we've seen this therapy carried on almost through an oral tradition from rehab to rehab over the past more than 50 years to appear in a lot of rehab programs today. It's sometimes called the hot seat at the Senecor Foundation in Louisiana and Texas. It's sometimes called attack therapy.
Shoshana, since we're talking about Synanon, it's the cult that has its fingerprints still in rehab centers today. Can you give us some background on Synanon?
Sure. It was founded in 1958 in Santa Monica, California. It was founded by a recovering alcoholic named Chuck Diedrich. And he basically started it as an informal group for people struggling with substance abuse. Eventually, it came to attract mainly heroin and opioid users. And it became, the first, essentially was the first drug rehab facility in the United States. At that time, the main mode of thinking about heroin addiction in particular was that there was no cure, that it was a kind of form of psychopathy that could not be cured at all with any kind of treatment. And this was a revolutionary idea at the time, that this group of ragtag users could use confrontational tactics and peer accountability and punishment to get each other sober.
Or we heard earlier from Tim, who didn't realize what he was getting into with Senecor. How transparent are these retailers about the sort of therapies they use?
I guess on some of their websites you might see the phrase therapeutic community. That doesn't necessarily mean that any of these kind of shaming and punitive tactics are being used, but Synanon was a therapeutic community and Senecor is a therapeutic community. You might also hear the term behavior modification. And there's not a lot of openness until you walk through the door of a rehab like this expecting to be cared for and cared about. And instead, you're subjected to techniques that most people have not seen until they encounter them themselves in person. So